now that you know that, one night when I was around 11 or 12, there was a guest speaker that was coming to the Assembly of God that we attended, and me and my brother and sister, we went with my mom, and it was a rock and roll guy that had given their life to God, and he was showing different sides of being back in a rock and roll band, and how the bands sell their soul to Satan, right? And he was talking about showing the different hand signals that you see people give all the time, or all the time and stuff like that has to do with worshiping Satan and stuff, and you've seen it all the time that they'll do this, and I don't do that stuff other than what I just did right now to show you what I'm talking about, but we learned about it and everything like that, and it was very interesting, to hear this guy talk about this. So later that night, we come home, and we're sitting there, we're talking, we're just kind of sitting around and stuff like that, and I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, people sell their soul to Satan? That's crazy. And I don't know what she said, but I asked her, I'm like, how do you think that somebody even sells their soul to Satan, right? And that's what I asked. And my mom did the stupidest thing that you could possibly ever say, all right? And of course, I forgive her for this and everything like that, but she said, oh, I suppose you only have to think it, right? And of course, it's a total lie, all right? It's why when we get saved, we're saved by grace, and we go out and we do good works. It is those good works that are showing when we stand before God, not that you said the prayer once and you sat on your ass. Just like when somebody does sell their soul to Satan, they're required to do satanic acts, because that keeps them in it. Otherwise, you can say you're a Satanist all day long, but if you're living for God, then you're not. It's those actions that make that difference, all right? So in no way, shape, or form can you think something like that and sell your soul. It becomes the actions that these people take and a commitment to turning from God, right? So my mom says this, and instantly, what's the first thing that pops in your head when you think of not a pink elephant, right? It pops right in my head. So I think that instantly I've just lost my soul to Satan, right? And now that you know the background of my household, I could never tell my mom something like this. For about 7 years, I lived through hell thinking that God didn't love me anymore and that I was going straight to hell. The tears, the crying, when I was by myself over and over again, please God, don't let me go to hell. I love you. It popped in my head. I don't know any better, over and over again, right? My mom set me up to fail big time, right? She doesn't know this. And thank God that I'm older now, and if somebody were to ever find himself in a situation like that, I could correct it instantly. But my mom, she didn't know enough to say anything or anything else, and there was no way I could tell her. Like I say, you couldn't even use the word witch around the house, right? So I'm thinking that I'm screwed, and every day, over and over again, I'm getting attacked by these thoughts because I can't control my mind or my thoughts, and they're coming in there, and I'm rebuking Satan over and over again, hundreds, thousands of times a day, every day, for years, right? As these attacks come on my mind, and I think that if I don't rebuke it instantly on the spot, that I'm going to lose my soul, that I'm fighting this craziness, right? Over and over and over again, until about 7 years later, I'm finally released from it, and I realize that, that's impossible. He never has control over our soul in the first place. It's a commitment to him, and to have any thoughts that randomly go through your mind is a complete lie from the devil, and I had that freedom finally given to me from God, and I was so grateful that I was finally free from it. And those thoughts and things like that, as I learned to control my mind better and push thoughts out and not think about things and other things like that, it became much better, and it was done with this under control. And I thought to myself, why would you allow that to happen, God? It seems so unfair. You did that to a kid that loves you, and you knew that it was going to happen. And I loved him so much, right? I always have. And I'm like, that was hell itself. That was torture itself. How could you do that, right? It doesn't seem fair. And this is the point that I want to bring out. That was my prerequisite before getting the most powerful gift that you can possibly have dumped in your lap. All right? That was my prerequisite. I had to learn to control my minds. I had to learn to rebuke thoughts. I've told you before, when you get a gift from God, a real gift, not this hoopla that you see people talking about and stuff like that. I've heard thousands of people say they have to get the spiritual discernment. If I tell you right now what the gift of spiritual discernment can do, you're going to realize that none of them have it. Just like speaking in tongues isn't flipping around on the floor or speaking some juke job, right? They were actually communicating across language barriers when the Christian church was starting, and God was allowing it to happen so that they could spread the gospel. And now that the gospel has been spread and there's missionaries in every group, you don't see it as often, but every once in a while you'll hear stories and I hear them, and that language barrier gets crossed and you actually do speak the language. What you see in church and people speaking in tongues, it's not tongues at all. And I don't want to take that from people. And they hold on to it thinking that they have a gift, they have a power, and the truth is that they don't. They're playing along. To have a real gift, you're going to go through a prerequisite. You're going to go through trials before it gets dropped off to you, because otherwise it can corrupt you and you can turn away. And it's why I've said, when you get a gift from God, there are two pillars you hold up. One is the responsibility of using that and requirement, because He's given it to you to use. And the other is the constant ego and the bribing from Satan thousands of times over that's telling you you're a great one, explosive power, you can get money for this, do that, over and over and over again, and you have to fight it off. You have to fight it off exactly like I was fighting off hundreds, sometimes thousands of times, right? Over and over again. And that, what seemed like a curse growing up, before I was released from it, was a 7-year test run before He dumped the gift of spiritual discernment in my lap, right? So sometimes we don't always think that it's fair, and we don't understand why God's doing something. And what we don't realize is that hardship a lot of times can be a training that you're getting for something massive, that He's going to give you some sort of incredible gift that you can't even comprehend or imagine, right? And that's my story of what happened right before I was given the gift of spiritual discernment. And then about 3 years later, at 21 on the floor, is when I was given the gift of knowledge. Between those two and God creating me to be a warrior, God did the unthinkable. He stuck a supercomputer on a thermonuclear weapon. And everything that I do, whether you know it or not, is all part of that. It's not going to take long before a supercomputer realizes what's going on, and it changes itself to an antimatter bomb and then packs it full of the mineral off of Stargate, right? If you know any movie lingua, I have done everything. Every action I take and do is to enhance this to be the ultimate, all right? Always. It's what I am. I don't play second best. If second is what happens, that's fine, but I'm giving best the entire time, and we'll see what happens in the end. All right. When I was given the gift of spiritual discernment, the first thing I did was I read my girlfriend's mind. I didn't know what happened. I had never had anything like that happen before. It was a strange feeling. Shortly after that, I was reading a book, and in the process of one of the chapters, while the author was writing about a certain subject, I was able to look inside his mind through written word, okay? I'm like, that's impossible. This is a book. This isn't somebody's mind anymore. What is going on with me? What is happening, right? I didn't know or have any ideas. All I knew that my abilities to look inside people were starting to increase dramatically, and I was able to start doing it a lot easier. And I didn't know where it was coming from, what exactly was going on, because it just dropped in my lap. shortly after that, I ended up moving down to Colorado. And I remember one specific time, me and my little brother were working at a job for Curbco. That was the name of the place. And there was a guy, an old Marine there that he was working with, that we were working with. And his name was Miles. And that winter, we had got unemployment. And my little brother didn't. And he kept asking the boss, what's going on? And the boss was getting him some line of lingo and some other stuff like that. And we didn't know what was going on, but my brother was like, whatever, you know, it was only for a few months, and then we ended up going back to work. So one day we're out behind the building, and while we're working, Miles is not saying anything. I get opened up to Miles's mind, and Miles says, Paul, which is my brother's name, I want to tell you, but I don't know how to say it. I worked out a deal with Rick Benson, the owner of the company, a while ago, and he does not pay his taxes, so he pays me on the side a little savings that he has, and that's how I was actually getting my unemployment. Jared, me, and getting my unemployment from the previous jobs I had, not actually from Curbco, but because Paul, that's the only job that he's had for that time, wasn't getting it, and he didn't know how to tell Paul. So I grabbed my brother really fast, and I run around the side of the house. I'm like, you're not going to believe what Miles was just thinking. He's been wanting to tell you for a while. Rick Benson isn't paying his taxes, dude. And he wants to tell you, but he doesn't know. The reason why is he worked out a deal with him, and he's getting some of the money, and I got my unemployment because it's from the previous jobs, not actually from Curbco. And I told my little brother this, right? And my little brother's like, that's crazy, right? So shortly after that, I ended up quitting the place and stuff like that, and Curbco gets shut down because because Rick Benson, the owner, wasn't paying his taxes, right? Just like I knew when I read Miles's mind. Sometime after this, I go into the Army, and while I'm in the Army, you know, I have this ability to look inside people. And it's shortly after I've been given the gift of knowledge, and I'm starting to get downloaded, and people are coming up to me and giving me information, and it's just a wellspring, right? But I'm keeping this kind of to myself, and I'm psychic, right? We'll just call it what it is. It's like being psychic. But it's more than that. It's more than that. And I kept it to myself, but the ability to read people was so easy that I could avoid them right from the start. I knew what they're about. I knew everything, right? But as time grew and enhanced, like this was the ability that I was going to offer if I ever made it into Delta, maybe for interrogation purposes or whatever else. And I didn't know what it was going to be used for, how to use it, exactly what was going on with it. All I knew is that I had it, and it was still getting better and better along the way, right? Then I get out of the Army, and I'm smoking pot and everything like that. You guys know the story. And I get a strike three, basically. And on that strike three, on the third time that I'd smoked, after I'd asked God to help me quit, and that I needed to stop, and I knew that He had a purpose for me still and stuff like that, and I wasn't fulfilling it, He stripped all my powers from me. And it was just like Superman 2, when Superman gets his powers taken. And I was left with nothing. I've never felt so alone, cold, and just blind. It's like having sight taken from you. It was terrible. And it went for almost a year, and I told him right on the spot when he did it, because I felt all my powers leave. It was a crazy feeling. But I felt them taken away, and I told him right there, as soon as my knees hit the ground, like, God, I promise I'll never smoke pot again if you give me my powers back. And he didn't do it. And it went on for about a year, until finally I got to the point where I said, I understand now, I see the darkness in it and everything like that, and even if you don't heal me, I never want to have anything to do with it again, and I thank you for showing me this. I needed to see it. That's all I needed to hear, because he knew it was real then, and he gave me my powers back, and they came back even more powerful now, right? The ability to read someone's mind through written word boggled me for the longest time, and I can do it. And I do it all the time. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter if it's electronical. It doesn't matter if it's comments. It doesn't matter if it's books or whatever else. And of course, this is all God's ability, power from the Holy Spirit and stuff like that. He decides at certain times when it needs to be turned on more or less. But most of the time, it's a free gift that I get to use at all times, right? And I struggled with it for a long time. Like, how is it possible a written word is copied, it's put into book form and stuff like that? There should be no way that I can get into somebody's mind through this. And of course, to have a totally different subject or subject matter, it's because we're in a digital universe, a holodeck, multiple different ones that are playing upon each other and stuff like that, and it's a virtual reality. And inside of a computer program, when something is sent out information, whether it's in book form or whatever else that it's perceived to be in, there's a code that would go along with the original idea code. And if this was real civilization or whatever else, that would be lost in written word. All right, it would just only be subject to dealing with the individual person in a conversation or something like that. But to actually pick it up from written word, it's only possible inside of a digital universe, because that original code, the idea code, can't be taken away. It still travels along with it, whether it's reprinted or put into a computer or written on paper in a book. And the gift that I have allows me to pick that up, and I can read people's minds through written word and other things like that. Of course, if you're talking about written word, how old was it written? Which now gives me the ability to read minds through time. All right. I've heard people talk about spiritual discernment so many times and how they have it and stuff like that. And I just want to tell you right now that they don't. They don't have it. I was given the gift. It's real. The prerequisite was brutal to get it. What I can do is beyond comprehension that I'm allowed to see and know. Right? When I tell you that Buzz Aldrin is thinking about when they were up on the moon and the stuff that they can't talk about, and the buildings and things that they can see up that they saw when they were up there, I'm telling you right now, it's all real. All right? When I'm reading somebody, I'm already doing the work for you. I'm filtering it out and I'm giving it to you, and I have been the entire time. All right? And people have no idea. All right? And just like the parable of God giving the gifts for all you that are waiting for your moment, that you've been waiting for it to say, oh, I'm just like you, right? People wait for it so they can vicariously live through me. When Jesus gives the talents to the people, he knows right away, before he even gives it in that parable, who's going to use it for his good and to prosper with it. All right? There's a prerequisite to have this. He knew that I would use it for his good, to help people, to bring information to people, to speak stage online, right? He knew all that ahead of time. And that's why he gave it to me in the first place, because he knew it ahead of time, and he saw that it wouldn't pull me away from him. Like I said, if you don't have a price, he will give you gifts, okay? If he sees that you have a price and he doesn't give it to you, and it's better that way, that you don't have a gift but you still make it to heaven, but to give you a gift you would go to hell, it's better that you don't get one, and that's okay, all right? But he looks into all that. So when people tell me I'm just like you, right, and I hear that crap, you can just block them right now in the comment section yourself, because you know they're phony, all right? The prerequisite means that you would know about them already. They would be speaking on a world stage, all right? They would have a voice that you recognize, all right? They wouldn't be given a talent that isn't going to be used or to hold on to, or he wouldn't give it to him in the first place. He knew that the guy that he gave one talent to was going to bury it in the first place, which is why he gave him one talent and not 10. Nothing's hidden, all right? Some people are going to write and say that, all right? You know right away that they're lying, okay? And they do it all the time, all right? People want to be me, all right? If you want to be me, just follow God and be yourself, but you'll never be me. And the gifts that God has given me are unique to me. And like John Finn has said when he's visited heaven, who we are now, it's only going to continue on into eternity. It's only going to grow bigger and bigger. So what I'm going to do with this, what God has planned for me, I don't know, but I know it's a part of me, and it's a gift that he's given to me, along with the gift of knowledge. And I have brought that out as much as I can to fight the forces of darkness and to tell people the truth about things, all right? And I have got to experience some cool things. It's a unique feeling to go back into somebody and look through their minds. It's like being jacked in Assassin's Creed, where you get into a computer and the thesis of the point of the game is that you're living through the DNA of ancestors, and those memories pass on. And if you can jack into it, you can go back and play and see things in history, right? I'm doing that same thing, but without having to jack in. It seems impossible, but it's real. And that's just some of the stuff that I can do. But it didn't come easy, all right? It came through hardship. And the point is that you don't always know why you're going through it. Alright? And it can seem impossible at times. But if you hang in there, if you don't give up, on the other side, God can use that. And it might very well just be a prerequisite to something incredible that He's going to give you. Alright? So that's why you never stop. Ever. This has been a really personal conversation on on my life, on some things that I've never said before. Right? More than anything, I want everybody that I talk to make it, and I know that people aren't going to. I saw the numbers were so small, it was ridiculous. And even best friends and people are falling away right now as we get close. People you never thought that you would see fall away or turn right at the last second, like Fig Tree, right? It seems crazy that they could sell out like that or fold. And I'm here to tell you right now that no matter what those people do, right, no matter what their reasons are, I pray that they come around, and I know that Jesus will forgive so many people of everything. If they just turn to Him, He loves them. No matter what Satan's saying, He loves them. And He'll give them that chance, but they might have to get scolded in the tribulation. But even if that happens, it's going to bring them to that point where they say, I understand now, just like I did before I got my powers back. I understand now, and I'm thankful for You showing me this. Because we're not going to be mindless drones when we're with God or in the new world that He has, all right? It's going to be people that have went through that test and realized, no, that's bad, and I don't want to have anything to do with it, which is a conscious decision. And with that, you can have your memories of the past. You don't have to be stripped of them. You can think about things. You can be a real person, and you just have made a conscious decision, no, that has no pull on me, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. That's real freedom that we can only get through God, all right? But I know that He cares, all right? And I know that sometimes if you think that He doesn't, that He does. And I think it's hard. I think it's hard that He's got to see stuff because He wants to come save us, and it's still held back right now because He's trying to save others and things like that. But I know He cares. I know it. And whatever you do, don't fold for any reason or circumstance, no matter how hard it gets. It's to the end. And I've talked about it before. Oh, that show that was on Netflix for a while with the Templars or whatever. There was 2 seasons of it. I loved it. But at the end of the second one, when they're about to burn at the stake, you know.
Oh, Jesus. True liberty of angels, paradise of delights. Remember the sadness you endured when your enemies surrounded you like furious lions. Dozens of blows, insults, lacerations.
I love you, man. I love you.
And unheard of cruelties tormented you at will.
By these torments and insulting words, all our enemies, visible and invisible. Amen.
Amen.
They only draw closer, and at that last second they get rescued and they make it out of there and take out Philip, which is just awesome. I really love that show, and I love the basis of God being their strength and everything. I thought it was really cool and well done. But don't listen to the anti-masculinity right now that's going on, especially these people that call themselves prophets and stuff like that. There is going to be a righteous call to violence, and it needs to happen. And I've said it multiple times, when Jesus comes back, it ain't going to be sweet talk. So many people are going to get vaporized, all right? But he gives them a chance up until the end, all right? But it's not going to be cushy, man, at all. And this idea that you don't fight as a Christian or anything like that, I'm so opposed to it. And even though I am chained right now, there is going to come an unleashing time, right? And it's gonna pay off, right? But we're not up against political opponents. We're up against the slime of humanity and Satan himself, right? That's why you pray against it. It's disgusting, it's evil, and if people knew how bad it was, if they really knew, they'd be up in arms right now. We'd overthrow the whole thing. Alright, it's disgusting. I want to tell you a quick story. I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but I heard a while ago, it was about a couple of years ago, that there was a kid, and he was involved in a satanic cult when he was younger. He grew up in it with Satan worship and stuff like that. And he talked about how they would kidnap people and take them out to do sacrifices. He was just a kid at the time. He would ride in the front seat of the van, and while he was there, he'd play the innocent part, right? And they would sneak up to a woman walking or something like that. They'd jump out, hit her with a shot, and she'd go to sleep, and they would take her to a cave or whatever else, and they would do this. They were there with kids and other things like that. But while they were there, they'd be getting ready to do a ritual, worship Satan, torturing the person, just torturing them, doing terrible things, horrific things, and they're just frothing at the mouth like these evil people. They're trying to kill Trump, right? And they love to get Christians and stuff like that. But the kid said that he saw it happen once in a while when he was a kid. They would be in the middle of a sacrifice. Somebody would be strapped down, they'd be praying to Jesus, and the evil Satanists that are getting ready or laughing and stuff like that, and they'd be praying to Jesus, the person that's about to be sacrificed, or the kid, and all of a sudden a white light would enter the cave or the room that they were in that would be so bright it would blind all of them, and the person on the table would be like, Jesus, you came for me. And he would take them right then on the spot. No more pain, no more suffering. And he would just take them. They were going to die anyways. And he just grabs their soul and it's over. And the Satanists would be furious, right? That they took him before they could torture him anymore, because there's nothing that they could do to him anymore. And the kid that was a man now said it didn't happen all the time. There would be people that would be praying to God, and the sacrifice would still go through, and they'd be tortured and murdered. But every once in a while, Jesus would show up. And I love it. I love hearing something like that. So many times you think, are you there? Are you watching? He's watching everything. And I know that he's just chomping at the bit to destroy evil once and for all. And this test, which is so severe, this crucible, which is needed so much before we can inherit this kingdom, it's got to be one of the toughest decisions ever for somebody that loves us as much as he does and has died for us, to watch us go through and bear and suffer, and knowing that it has to be required, but he wants to save us at the same time. I can't even imagine that responsibility. It's unimaginable, but I know that he does. He cares so much, and every once in a while he just breaks the rules and says, yeah, enough, I'm coming in, and nothing's going to stop me, and he'll save them out of there. And it's really an incredible story to hear, because he does have compassion even in our darkest hour if you just hold on to him. And sometimes even when we trip and fall, it might be something that we need to see ourselves to humble us, so we can get up and be like, maybe I wasn't as pious as I thought that I was, and now I just exposed myself. Dear God, forgive me, and help me to walk a more selfless life. And there's a reason for everything, but he's always watching all the times. Alright, I think I'm going to end this video here. I've talked enough on kind of a little bit of everything going on right now, and this video's going to take forever to upload off of my phone. Oh my gosh. But I hope maybe it helps somebody, and maybe it'll inspire you not to give up. I hope, and to hang in there. But But I know that time is short. It's very close. Everything that I've ever told you, I never made it up. I've never made any of it up. It's all real. All the stuff, the craziest things you can possibly imagine, has been vetted through me. And I was for the purpose of bringing it out to you guys, alright? All throughout the years, I have. And there's going to be a time when I probably won't be allowed to talk anymore. But for now, you have this. You have all these stories and everything like that. And it's real, and you can take it to the bank. And of course, I encourage everybody to take it to God at all times. Build a relationship, talk to him, see if it's true. I don't mind at all, because I'm not going to lie. Alright, so you have that. But I hope this encourages you to hang on and not to give up, and to kick anything that you have right now that he's buying these last seconds for us to the curb, to throw that ring in the fire once and for all, and turn to God. Let it go. Right? Fornication, having a concubine in your house, sleeping around outside of marriage, all of it, just let it go. It's not worth it for what's about to happen, and he'll forgive you right now. You can have a clean slate, but just let it go, alright? Because there's not that much time, and this can end in a second. Just like we saw the other day, it could all be over, and this whole thing could kickstart. It's just a hair's width away, alright? And he'll always give us so much time, and he's been so kind to give us this much. So don't waste it. God bless. I'll catch you next time, and I'll see you in the air. Bye.